Let's talk about QPR. Firstly, why not? But secondly, Ji-Sun Park. Now, I saw this transfer take place this week. I saw it. No eyebrows were raised from my part. I thought 5 million, that seems like a fair deal. But I'm hearing a lot of people saying 5 million for Ji-Sun Park is an extortionate amount of money. Where do you say?
I don't think enough people understand what he does for that team. I mean, you look at the amount of big games he plays in. In fact, I think, to be fair, I think he maybe wouldn't have got quite as many games had Darren Fletcher not been injured. But he's been there 7 years. Fergie clearly trusts him. I think £5 million for QPR. I think they've done. Mark Hughes does his homework when he signs a player, and I think when he signed the players himself, which he wasn't most of the time, Manchester City, I think that his track record is pretty good, and I'm looking forward to, as a fan of QPR, I'm looking forward to him getting the team next season. He'll give us something we don't already have.
But Gordon, don't they say that Sir Alex never lets a decent player go?
Yeah, but there's a decent player and there's a decent. Listen, exactly. He's class. For me, 5 million. He goes down as one of the best signings I've heard throughout this summer. Yeah. Because he fits in. He'll do any job you ask of him. He's never any trouble. Again, why Sir Alex trusts him. Yeah, and also that might just spell the end for Joey Barton. Because he's got more than Joey Barton.
Dear God, let's hope they don't just make him captain. That was one of the worst things I've ever seen.
I think, in a nutshell, I think he brings a lot of. I think he sews up a lot of the problems that we see in Queen's Park Rangers last year.
I agree totally, because firstly I rate Ji-Sun Park. He's done enough damage against Chelsea over the years for me.
Don't forget as well, he was very good before he joined United. I mean, he went to PSV to the semi-final against AC Milan in 05. So he's not somebody who just got good at United and has just played well in the Premier League. He's got a good pedigree wherever he's been.
And he's low mileage. I mean, he's 30-year-old, but he's experienced. He's played in the World Cup. He's played in Champions League finals. He plays in the big games, as Aidan said. And for me, he's low mileage, so they're going to get a hell of a player.
I'll say it's a coup for QPR.
Yeah, me too.
Up on the Skype wall now is Clive, QPR fan. Clive, can you hear us?
Yeah, hi guys, how's it going?
Hi Clive, you all right?
Going very well indeed. Now listen, let's talk about Ji-Sun first before we touch on the other QPR-related topics that we want to discuss. But were you surprised at the transfer, at the price, at the fact he's come, or was it a pretty decent, shrewd bit of business?
Yeah, I'm really surprised. I think it's a great signing for us, and a sort of step up on the other players that we've brought in this summer. We're sort of lacked a bit of street smart, I think, last year, especially away from home. I don't think we won any of our last 13 away games. So we're adding sort of experience and street smarts to the team this summer. I think we're going to be quite unpleasant to play against next year in a nice way, which is a good thing. So I think we're a bit of a pushover last year sometimes.
Last summer when the transfers were being made and they brought in Anton Ferdinand, Wright Phillips, I have to say I was looking, and Kieran Dyer came in as well, didn't he? And I know he's
for 7 minutes. He's got another contract this year. It's just incredible. But
we'll talk about Kieran as well, because that's a topic in itself. But I have to say, I was looking at the signings that QPR made last season, and I was saying brilliant signings, perfect for what they need. It didn't work out because unfortunately the way that I think they were integrated in the squad was
no, it was too many. It was too many at once. Yeah, it was the last day of the window. It could have been worse, but I think it unsettled the team spirit, actually, from what I hear.
Well, especially when they actually all came up together.
Well,
I mean, you ever look at the nucleus of Swansea, nucleus of Norwich, and they kept them together.
I spoke to a QPR player who joined another Premier League club last summer, and he said that you can't have a situation, and he told me this in about February. It's very difficult at a club. I really can't say, because I'd get him in bother. But he's played at QPR twice. I put it that way. Anyway, he said that you can't have a situation where you've got players on one tier of earnings, which would be around sort of between 7 and 12, 13 grand a week, and then the next step is not 30 or even 40. It's kind of 80, 70, 80, 90. It even with the January signings as well, like Zamora and Cisse, people like that. It created a big gap within the squad, and I'm hoping Mark Hughes will work towards bridging that now.
So Clive, last season when you saw those signings come in, and like I said at the time, I thought, I can see why they've been brought in and stuff. It didn't work out. Were you as optimistic then when you saw those names arriving?
Absolutely, I was really optimistic when I saw them come in, but it was all a bit of a rush job, wasn't it? We had the takeover about 10 days before the end of the transfer window, and then sort of had this crazy 10 days where we signed all these players, and I'm not sure there was a lot of forward planning in it. We just sort of went out and grabbed what we can.
And throwing mud at the wall, wasn't it?
I think we gave up on the players that got us promoted too quickly, because by the end of the season it was people like Jamie Magee, Clint Hill were coming back into the team and doing a better job. We gave up on those guys too quickly last summer, I think.
Clive, what do you think next year is going to equal successful season for you?
Well, staying in the Premier League has got to be the aim while we're still playing in the stadium that we've got, because we're so hamstrung by the size of it. I think I fancy us to do better next year. It was nip and tuck.
Clive, I think top 10.
Really?
I do, yeah.
I reckon 14th, there or thereabouts. I think we'll maybe win 4 away games.
I think they'll be very disappointed with finishing 14th, because but if you include this outlay and what they spent in the last sort of 12 months, I think that you're looking at a lot of money, and the pressure has to finish higher up has to come at some point.
You've got to be realistic with the sort of the size of the club, the size of the ground. It's not going to happen overnight. I think 14th represents sort of decent progress.
Clive, but you say that, and I think Mark Hughes will be over the moon to listen to the expectation of his fans, because it will be grossly different to where his expectation comes from. He's a taskmaster. He's a winner on and off the pitch, and he has got a real squad.
Flashy gave an interview after the Manchester City game where if it hadn't been for Joe Barton, I believe we'd have pulled off the biggest upset in Premier League history. He said afterwards, while all the furore was going on with City in the league, he said this club will not be in this position ever again under my guidance. And you know what? I put a lot of trust in that, because I believe what he's saying.
I certainly do. I think there was a few accusations. I think someone summed it up. We had a fan on last season, midway through the season. I think you were away to Spurs and you were just doing nothing. But
3-1, yeah.
Yeah, and the fan said, at the moment, we're playing with a swagger we don't yet have. They were playing with a sort of, we're the money men, we've got these big names, but there was no substance to it. That will not happen, will it, under Mark Hughes?
Not, and I believe Hughes as well when he says we're never going to be in that position again. I think we've got to be careful that we're not trying to run before we can walk. Really, we were lucky to stay up last year, so I think we need a consolidation season. I think until the Park signing, I think a lot of the signings we've made this summer have sort of been a bit sort of consolidation signings. Just we need to get in the middle of the Premier League and stay there for a few years, and move on season by season. So that's where I think we're going this year.
Yeah, I don't see a problem with their home form. No one likes going to Loftus Road.
Six in a row towards the end of the season.
Honestly, you just do not want to go there. But the away form, they got stretched, and also a few of their individuals that they did bring in on big money, they didn't raise a leg, by the way. They did not have the same. And remember, and there was a few. I mean, Cisse as well, and then he gets sent off every game. Diakite would dive in and be on a tightrope every single game.
But those Diakite and Cisse did. They were a key reason we stayed up. I think Diakite especially. Well, no, Cisse as well. He scored in every game. He didn't get sent off in.
Well, that's the other problem you have with discipline.
Yeah,
because
true.
I think you had like 11 games where 9 of them games you didn't finish with 10 men.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Oh, sorry, you finished with 10 men.
So Joseph Barton, what are we doing here? What are we saying here? I mean,
they couldn't afford to get rid of him. That's basically what it was. We're not a rich enough club to just literally throw £4 million in his pocket and say go off and join West Ham on half the money. I think if they've had certain guarantees from him, I think there's still a place for him in the team. He wasn't a complete write-off last season. He did have some good games, particularly before about November.
Clive, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think it is a case of not having enough money to pay him off. I was of the opinion that prior to the Man City game that Hughes would use him for as long as he had no choice, and the first opportunity he had, he'd get rid of him. And then what he did at Man City sort of took that opportunity away from him.
He was playing so well at Man City as well. He was carrying out his job so well, and I honestly believe if he played on the pitch, stayed on the pitch, we'd have won the game.
That's what it's like, isn't it? You're never more than 10 minutes away from the next explosion with him. I think
it's 10 seconds with
He's one of those humans, in fact, that just has a switch in his head, and when the switch goes, there's no reason.
But now he's under pressure because he's not going to be able to start the season. If the team starts doing really, really well, we might see a different Joey Barton who knuckles down to fight for his place back.
He did that at Newcastle.
He is competitive, and it's sometimes he gets a bit ahead of himself, and as soon as he switches his head, I mean, I tweeted him the other day, and I put there, talented. He's so talented, do you know what I mean? But he's always walking a tightrope.
Yeah,
just doesn't need to do it.
He did say, I think a tweet I saw him say recently was like, on form, I'd walk into the England squad. It's my temperament that's kept me out of it. Would you say that's
disagree?
Fair?
Yeah. I mean, at certain points in his career,
that sums him up though.
At certain points in his career,
possibly
when he was at the back end of his time at City, when he had that season when he ran it 06-07, he showed flashes at Newcastle. But I mean, his temperament does keep him out of it. Yeah, he's a bit like a Julian Dix, but without the. Don't know. He's probably not as consistent as Julian Dix as he was for West Ham. Yeah, more hair. Exactly.
Worth noting. Yeah. Another one for you, Clive. Fabio or Raphael, whichever one you've got. I think they swap, don't they, throughout the season, depending on who's nearest.
Is that left back or right back?
Yeah. What do you make of that signing?
It's an interesting one. I mean, I don't want to think that we're just sort of training, bigger clubs' players up, but we are short at left back, and he's a quality player. you know, that we maybe don't sort of have the money to buy players of that age and that quality at the minute. So maybe he'd come in on loan for a season and we might buy him at the end of it. It didn't seem to get sort of a very positive thing long term, but short term, you know, we need a left back, and he's a good left back.
I covered United for a year with the News of the World. I saw enough to think that that's going to be a very, very good signing. Especially, there's no real commitment on QPR's part, is there? I mean, you know, they're covering his wages for a year, and if he's any good, they might have the option of buying him. But I wouldn't take that for granted. I think Fergie still sees something in him.
Yeah, the problem is we're still going to be looking for a left back next summer, aren't we? If he does well and goes back to Man U, we're in the sort of same position next year. So it's a bit of a strange one in that respect. But you know, it's a quality player that's been added to the team.
Yeah, but it's not really, because what it does is it gives Mark Hughes a year to build the team to then attract a different type of player. Now, it might well be, I mean, Mark Hughes is in such a great position at the minute because every player he's bringing in is better than the player he's going to get rid of. So he is going to be obviously a lot better, even if it's just in quality. They've still got to go out and perform, but under him, I mean, if I was a player, I'd love to play for Mark Hughes.
Captain, that was one of the worst decisions I've ever seen to bring in.
I think in a nutshell, I think he brings a lot of. I think he sews up a lot of the problems that we see in Queen's Park Rangers last year.
I agree totally, because firstly I rate Ji-sung Park. He's done enough damage against Chelsea over the years for me.
Don't forget as well, he was very good before he joined United. I mean, he went to PSV to the semi-final against AC Milan in 05. So he's not somebody who just got good at United and has just played well.
Sir Alex never lets a decent player go.
Yeah, but there's a decent player and there's a decent. Listen, he's class. For me, 5 million. He goes down as one of the best signings I've heard throughout this summer, because he fits in. He'll do any job you ask of him. He's never any trouble. Again, why Sir Alex trusts him. Yeah, and also that might just spell the end for Joey Barton, because he's got more than Joey Barton. And,
dear God, let's hope they don't just make him.
Maybe he wouldn't have got quite as many games had Darren Fletcher not been injured. But he's been there 7 years. Fergie clearly trusts him. I think £5 million for QPR. I think they've done. Mark Hughes does his homework when he signs a player, and I think when he signed the players himself, which he wasn't most of the time, Manchester City. I think that his track record is pretty good, and I'm looking forward to, as a fan of QPR, I'm looking forward to him getting the team next season. He'll give us something we don't already have.
But Gordon, don't they say that
in the Premier League he's got a good pedigree wherever he's been,
and he's low mileage. I mean, he's 30-year-old, but he's experienced. He's played in the World Cup. He's played in Champions League finals. He plays in the big games, as Aidan said. And for me, he's low mileage, so they're going to get a hell of a player.
I'd say it's a coup for QPR.
Yeah, me too.
Up on the Skype wall now is Clive, QPR fan. Clive, can you hear us?
Yeah, hi guys, how's it going?
Hi Clive, you right?
Going very well indeed. Now listen, let's talk about QPR. Firstly, why not? But secondly, Ji-sung Park. Now I saw this transfer take place this week. I saw it. No eyebrows were raised from my part. I thought 5 million, that seems like a fair deal. But I'm hearing a lot of people saying 5 million for Ji-sung Park is an extortionate amount of money. Where do you say?
I don't think enough people understand what he does for that team. I mean, you look at the amount of big games he plays in. In fact, I think, to be fair, I think